Alright guys, so today we're going to take a look at the Google Pixel, which if you haven't had a chance to check out this phone, really awesome phone with a ton of cool features, but obviously today we just want to focus on video capabilities. So you'll see we're in our camera roll and we've hopped over to video. Pretty straightforward. You'll see obviously this is your record button if you want to turn around and take a little selfie mode. What up guys, you can do that, but I don't think we want to do that for our standards. So we've talked about this before, but we never want to shoot our videos vertically. Let's go ahead and get in landscape here. All right, so we're in landscape. So you'll see this little arrow over here if you're on your Pixel. We're gonna want to hit this and we're gonna flip it back over just for the purposes of checking out our controls. So you'll see here that we have an option to shoot at 30 or 60 frames per second. Now I'm assuming most of you guys aren't gonna wanna go in and manually do slow motion video, which is something I'll teach you about in further episodes. So we're gonna go ahead and just leave this at 30 frames. But you see this little wheel here? Let's click on this. Now that we're in here, we're gonna see we have our save location turned on, our camera sounds turned on, and we even have a Google Lens suggestions option turned on, which is gonna really pick the most optimal lensing for our video experiencing here. We also have framing hints. It's going to teach you how to take better photos. So say if we were just like trying to take a selfie or something, it's going to tell us, you know, hey, you're standing in front of the wrong light source, blah blah blah. So let's keep scrolling down because this is really more for video. And see grid type. Remember when we talked about last week in the iPhone how we can turn on our grid so we can help with our composition? This is where you're going to do this. So we're going to go with golden ratio because that's your theory of thirds, which is our most widely used ratio to balance our images. So let's go ahead and turn that on and let's hop into the advanced settings. So a really cool trick about this phone is you'll see here that we have a show dirty lens warning. So this camera will actually let you know if you have a dirty lens, and it's gonna say, hey, you know, you need to wipe off your lens right now because you're got a lot of particles on the screen, whatever. That's a nice helpful thing because sometimes it may seem like a given, but sometimes it's very hard to tell just from viewing it through your live view. So I find that to be a very cool setting. We have our HDR control. HDR is just gonna give you a more high dynamic range image. So it's gonna bring out a little more dynamic range in your video. For us, we're gonna go ahead and leave that off. And then you'll see down here this store videos efficiently setting. It allows us to do an HVEC format, which is a much smaller video size. We're gonna go ahead and leave that off because like I said, if we have the room, we wanna really try and get as high of a file rate as we can because it's gonna look like a better video. But if you are struggling with space on your phone, go ahead and hit that store videos efficiently. So let's jump out of here and keep scrolling down. So right now we have our ultra high resolution video turned off, which is a fancy way to say your 4K video. We're gonna turn it on. This camera also has a video stabilization feature, which is kind of best in class for smartphones. You won't really find that in other smartphones, so I would definitely suggest turning that on, and it's gonna help you keep a really smooth image when you're moving that usually can only be achieved through having a gimbal or a separate stabilizer. All right, so now we're jumping back in here and see how we have our nice golden ratio grid. So if you're trying to compose a frame, that really helps. And what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go ahead and hit record and get a little video here. Only thing about this camera that's a little different than the iPhone is that it's gonna more or less auto adjust your settings. So you don't have as much leniency with exposure control, which is not a big deal. So I wanna show you guys one more thing. If you go into more, you'll see here that we have the ability to shoot a slow motion video right off the bat. So remember earlier when I was talking about 60 frames, this is a more user-friendly way that if you want to get some slow-mo video, go ahead and just switch to your slow motion option. You're going to be able to get some nice crispy slow-mo at 4K. Super simple process. So anyways guys, the Google Pixel is a really awesome phone. There's a lot of cool settings here and the video stabilization is best in class. So until next week guys, thanks for listening and we'll take a look at our Samsung Galaxy next week. Bye.